Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to have you here. For our students, how many of you are undergraduates? Great. And how many graduate students? Terrific. And how many are here at NSU for your first time? All right. Well, welcome. This is great. Hopefully this will be a great sign of a wonderful academic career for you here at NSU, and a great introduction to a university that I think has an extraordinary partnership with businesses in the community, and that's one of our differentiating factors. So I think tonight will be a nice introduction for you to that. So about 26 or 27 years ago, NSU started to honor business people, thank goodness, men and women, in the business community throughout Florida and the nation for extraordinary work in entrepreneurism. And we have been honoring people for 27 years. And part of the tradition is after they're honored, we ask them to come back and spend a little time at the university and spend some time with our students and have a lecture. So this is something we implemented maybe about at least 5 years ago, and it's one of the evenings I really look forward to. And so tonight you're in for a real treat. Before I introduce our speaker and honoree, I'd like to introduce you to our new interim dean, Jim Simpson. This is actually his first time at NSU. He joined us last week. He got to be part of our President's Council retreat with the president and executive team this summer, so that's when I had the chance to meet him. He comes to us from Auburn University in Alabama and has a great history with business schools throughout the nation. So I think he's going to be a great addition and really elevate our university, and especially the business school, which is such a key piece of our institution. I'd also like to let you know that you're in the presence of one of our trustees, Nell McGuire-Lewis. Dr. Lewis is an amazing lady in her own right, and she is a member of the Royal Dames of Cancer Research, which is a wonderful organization that supports cancer research right here at NSU, and specifically our Rumbaugh Goodwin Cancer Research Institute, which is located in the CCR. So Nell's a wonderful member of the Board of Trustees, and she's really a terrific advocate for us with an amazing group of ladies who not only like to wear tiaras in their free time and call themselves Royal Dames, but actually do raise a lot of money and really bring a lot of awareness to breast cancer research. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for some women. So now I get to tell you about a really tremendous woman who really should be wearing a tiara. And she was one of our 3 honorees this past spring for our Entrepreneur Hall of Fame. She's one of our 2018 Hall of Fame honorees. Tonight you're going to have the chance to meet a woman who is the first female president and CEO of a publicly traded cruise line, which is Celebrity Cruises. She also, among many other things, she was Vice President of Marketing at Royal Caribbean. She was Vice President of Marketing at Celebrity. She's worked for the Royal Caribbean Company for almost all of her professional life, but has gone up and over and tried many different roles. So I think you'll get to hear about that, challenging yourself, finding new areas of growth and expertise. She is an amazing champion of other people and finding what's great in them, bringing that out and giving them new opportunities. And she does that, and because she does that, diversity and bringing awareness to diversity and celebrating diversity has become really one of her core tenets. And I think one of the things that is a great example of that is she was the first person to appoint a woman to be a captain of one of the cruise ships. And it's not the last one. She's also committed to be continuing to promote and advance more women in the maritime part of running the ships, not just the hospitality piece. She's an amazing champion of philanthropy and community causes. When I was the head of the United Way, she went on the board of the United Way of Broward County, and she stayed there, and she's become very, very active. And one of the things that I see her glow with pride about is she is involved in the Malala Fund, which is the young woman who was, I'm not going to tell the story right, I'll let Lisa tell it, but she has won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she will be the godmother of the new EDGE ship. And so she's a great advocate for women's rights across the nation, and she has a beautiful story. So I'll let Lisa tell you the details. But it's a great example of how she's figured out how to really tell the story and raise awareness and do it in such a touching and thoughtful and sensitive way. So it's my privilege, really of a lifetime, to introduce someone who I admire, I aspire to be like, and I am really proud and honored to consider a friend, Lisa Lutoff-Perlo.
Jennifer, thank you for that beautiful introduction. What Jennifer didn't tell you was she actively and maniacally recruited me to be on the board of the United Way of Broward County. And about 6 months after I joined the board, she told me she was leaving to pursue her lifelong dream of academia. And she has just had a stellar career, and it's an honor and privilege to know you, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here. I know I'm invited here because I was just inducted into the NSU Hall of Fame, and one of the things that I find as most fortunate about that experience is that I get to come to talk to students, whether you are undergraduate or graduate students. I would spend all of my time with students if I could, but I have to work and make a living, so I can't. But when I get these opportunities, I always relish them because you are our future, you are our hope, you are my inspiration, you are intelligent, you get it, you are articulate, you are determined, and you are fearless. And so for all of those things, I congratulate you, and what I will say before I start my comments tonight is don't ever change. The world needs you now more than they ever have. So with that, you know who I am, you know what I do. One of the fun things about being invited to do this is Lisa very recently sent me a copy of the announcement that was going out, that was going to tell everybody that I was coming and what my topic was going to be, and I thought it looked great, and Adora, who I work with every day, thought it looked great, and we gave the thumbs up, okay, it's fine. And the next thing I knew, I just figured it went out. And so then maybe a day or two later, I get a text from a very good friend of mine who said, "Did I just see your face on a billboard on University Drive?" I said, "I don't think so." And she said, "Are you doing something at NSU?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I almost snapped my neck turning around because I could have sworn I saw your face. So thank you, NSU. I didn't expect that. Oh, wow." I didn't believe it either. So my husband, Andre, who's sitting right here, it was a Saturday morning, and we had just gone out to breakfast, and I said, "Drive me by that billboard. I want to see if it's true." And I took that picture. I took that picture after breakfast on a Saturday morning, and wow, you've done a lot of amazing things, but that, I gotta say, is pretty cool. So I have the best job ever. I really do. I get to see the world. I get to share it with my family. I get to be the first woman to ever cut steel for a brand new ship, our Celebrity Edge in France. And I get to work with amazing men and women from all over the world that make up our crew. I did a talk at Columbia on one of our ships, so I really just have this wonderful job, this wonderful life that I am forever grateful for, and I get to live the dream every single day, and that's just a really fabulous thing. At Celebrity, we get to take people all over the world. We visit over 300 ports of call, 7 continents. We have 13 ships. Next year, we will carry over 1 million guests. So we get to open up the world for everyone, and that's a joy, Because a lot of times you think about how people feel about the world and closing themselves off, but when you get to travel all over the world, it's life-changing. Our crew represents over 60 different cultures. They come on the ship as strangers, and they soon become family. They come from different religious backgrounds. They are different colors. They are different genders. They have different sexual orientations. But they don't see each other that way. They just see each other as their fellow colleague that they need to take care of and that they need to take care of our guests with. And so I believe the world could learn a lot from cruise ships. And so I get to work like this every single day. So again, it's just really encouraging. There are 15,000 employees at Celebrity Cruises. When I go out and people ask me, they never ask men this, by the way, but they often ask me, I've stopped answering the question, how I balance my career and my life. And I basically say I don't, because how can you do that? I'm in a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job. What I will say before I move off this slide is whether you're a man or a woman, because men have the same issue with balance in their lives, you know what? As long as it all works out in the end, go easy on yourself, because on any given day, your life is in complete imbalance. It's okay. Breathe and forgive yourself. And tomorrow, just pay a little more attention to whatever you didn't pay enough attention to yesterday. And we work ship and shore. So our ships are all over the world, and some of us, we probably have 3,000 or 4,000 shoreside employees just in South Florida. Our main corporate office is at the Port of Miami, and we have an office in Weston and Miramar and Broward County. And most of Celebrity ships sail out of Port Everglades, which is also really nice because I happen to live in Broward County in Plantation, so our ships are very close by. And we do a lot on ships. As you can imagine, it's a very comprehensive experience. So the team that I work with every day, not only do we sell and market and attract people to our brand and use business intelligence and AI to try to figure out who's going to come to our ships on any given day with what offer and what rate and how we find them in different ways. We create an experience that's quite complex, and it has a lot of moving parts. I was talking to my friend Steve here, who cruises on Celebrity all the time, and he's a food and beverage guy, and he's amazed at just the operation and the intensity and the logistics of it in operation. So when you think about the complexity of what we do and the amazing men and women who make this happen every day, you can't help but be really proud. And Celebrity has just won its 114th award this year, so they do a really great job. And one of the things that you always have to think about when you're going out in the workforce is the people you surround yourself with that are part of your team, because teams are the way you win. You see that in sports, and you're going to certainly, many of you work already if you're in the graduate program, but you'll certainly see that when you go out into the world. And Marine is another part of what we do that isn't like the sexy part of what we do, but that's how our ships operate. That's how they keep operating. All the technologies and the fuel and the engines and safety, it's a really big part of what we do. And then another reason I have my best job ever is when I get honored, which was just such a lovely experience just a few months ago here with Steve Ross and Bob Moss. So, interesting story about connections that you never knew would happen. So, Bob Moss is Moss Construction. Moss Construction is building Celebrity's brand new terminal at Port Everglades. I never knew him before I was inducted into the Hall of Fame with him, but I'm so happy I got to meet him, because right after we met, he went to his crew at Port Everglades and said, okay, I just met the woman whose terminal this is. We have to finish this thing on time and on budget. And Steve Ross, wonderful, lovely man, so accomplished, and he and I share the love of football in common. This happens to be different teams, and it happens to be in the same division. So needless to say, he and I didn't talk too much about football. But I know he wants a championship, and I can't blame him. That was very important to him. So I thought about tonight, and I thought about the topic I was assigned. And the topic I was assigned was bold decisions. And I thought about my career, and I thought about my life a little bit, and I said, what are some of the things that I can share that might be helpful, and that might give you maybe a glimpse into how a career can be, even though some happen this way and some don't. It's my story. And my story isn't everybody's story, but I'm hoping there are components of my story that will resonate with all of you. My story is told from the point of view of being a woman in some places, but it's gender neutral. I think you'll see that as we go through. But I am different. And a lot of what I've done in my career is with men in the majority of the positions. I am the first woman in the C-suite of my company, but I'm also the first woman who has ever run some of the areas that I've run. And so I've thought about my decisions and I've thought about what I've done in a different way to be successful in an area where I was different than everybody else. And so I thought I would share some of those stories with you tonight. I was born in Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's a little fishing town, 25,000 people. And most people don't ever leave Gloucester. And most people don't even drive over the bridge that connects Gloucester to the rest of Massachusetts. And so for me to leave Gloucester was a bold decision that I made because I didn't feel like I could, even though I didn't know what that was, I didn't feel that I could do what I wanted to do by staying there. Most of you have already made that decision. You've left home and you're doing something in another part of the country, and who knows where your future will take you beyond this. After I went to Gloucester High School, after I graduated from Catholic school, 8 years in Catholic school, and then I went to Bentley, and I would put myself through school as a waitress, and people would ask me, what are you going to school for? And I would say accounting. They would say, you're never going to be an accountant. And I said, and I was really insulted by that and asked them what made them think that. And they were all right, because I've never been an accountant. But it helps a lot in what I do, trust me. But after college, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do because I did realize that accounting wasn't really who I was or what I was. It wasn't my passion. So I floundered a little bit. I worked in different hotels in Massachusetts and was trying to find my way. I didn't stay at these jobs very long because hotels get pretty small. I got a little bored of my job, and so I decided to move on. What I will say, though, is one of the best things that happened by having that job at the Sheraton in 1983, so don't do the math, was I met my husband. So that, even though I was floundering in my career, something really great came out of that. We've been together ever since, so that's amazing. And then I decided, all right, I'm not interested in this hotel business. What should I do? And I think one of the things that I often say is, you don't have to have it all figured out. All you have to do is be open to experiences that are going to help you get somewhere, even though you don't know where that somewhere is going to be. Some do it in a very structured way. And some in grade school say, I'm going to be a doctor. And they're a doctor, and that's what they live their whole life doing. But some who say, I really don't know what I want to do, either in grade school or high school or college, it's okay. And so when I decided I needed to get off the merry-go-round, I looked in the Boston Globe Help Wanted section. Again, I'm dating myself a lot in this room. But I looked through the Help Wanted and said, what do I want to do? And I found this job, this obscure job at Crimson Travel. Why don't I give the travel business a try? That must be interesting. And that led me to an opportunity by sitting at that desk in the travel agency, making that decision to do that, even though I wasn't sure what the job was and nor were they. It gave me an opportunity to be sitting there one day when a gentleman walked in and said, I'm the sales rep for Royal Caribbean and I just got promoted and I'm moving to Miami. Is anyone here interested in my job? You should apply. I was like, wow, that sounds interesting. And that's where it all started. That's where it started back in 1985 as a district sales manager for Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean Cruises Limited is our parent company. Royal Caribbean is one of the brands under it. It just happens to be our biggest brand. So I started going door to door in Massachusetts and New England, calling on travel agents and convincing them that they should be selling Royal Caribbean and no other cruises. And then 4 years later, 4 years, longest job I ever had, I had to decide, okay, this is getting a little maybe monotonous for me. Maybe after 4.5 years, I don't want to do this anymore. What should I do next? And I always said, this was the 80s, late 80s, remember. Miami wasn't the greatest place to live in the late 80s. And I always said, a girl from Massachusetts, I'm never going to move to Florida. So I have to leave this company if I really want to advance. And then one day something happened where we bought another small cruise line and we were expanding, and they were looking for regional sales manager. So that's a step up from this job that you had to move to Miami. So Andre and I said, what do you think? So my supportive husband, that I've been with since 1983, said, go ahead and apply. You'll never get the job. So I did. I applied. But guess what? I got the job. And I had to make a decision, a bold decision, to leave the state I was from in my mid-20s at that point and leave my family. And that was really, really hard for me because I'm like the matriarch of the family. And the girl on the right is my baby sister, and she was the hardest person to leave. But I decided that I needed to do it. It's just a decision I needed to make. Just the end of that story is they all live here now. And 1, 2, 3 of them actually live with us. So I didn't have to leave them for long, and even my baby sister went to UN grad school. She's a lawyer, and she lives 2 miles away from me. So that all worked out, which is terrific. But it was a decision that was really hard for me, but I made it anyway, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. And then for 17 years, I had various sales jobs. And for 17 years, all I wanted to be was the head of sales. Now I had a career. I had a path. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And for 17 years, I had all of these different jobs within the sales organization with the sole purpose of taking my boss's job as soon as he was ready to retire. And I was just sitting there waiting for him to retire. And then my world blew up. And I was moved from sales to marketing. And so my career was over. And what I will tell all of you is that just because you go from one division to another, don't think your career is over. Look at it as a great opportunity. So when I was forced to move from sales into marketing, I made a bold decision to make it work and learn something new and use it to my advantage versus thinking it was going to be a disadvantage and that my career was over. And after a little while, I really started enjoying it, and I was really good at it. And that was terrific. And so I did that for 4 or 5 years. And then changes were happening in our company. The head of marketing job came available at Royal Caribbean. I knew I wasn't going to get that job, so I had to make another bold decision and call someone that was a sponsor of mine in the company to say, what should I do? I really am looking for something else to do. And that's just sort of another lesson that I would say to all of you is find an advocate and sponsor. I don't use the word mentor because mentors are lovely, but I think advocates and sponsor has a completely different meaning, and they're the people who get you where you need to go. And they're the people who will advocate you and push you forward, sideways, whichever way you want to go. And those are the people that you really need to find in your career or even here in the university with the great faculty and all of the people that are inducted into the Hall of Fame. We all have connections, and you should use us as a way to fulfill your own dreams and your own aspirations. So I did that, and I called that guy, and he helped me. And I actually then went into my first role, operational role, as a vice president, which was a nice promotion for me. But what I did was I switched brands. I was with the mother brand, the corporate umbrella brand, for 21 years, and I made the decision to switch brands to Celebrity. And Celebrity was still floundering a little bit as a brand, and I was offered the same job that this gentleman, my sponsor and advocate, offered me. The same day, I was offered the same job to stay at Royal Caribbean. And I made the bold decision not to do that. That was the safer job. And the person who was trying to convince me to take that job, who was the president of the brand at that time, really made me feel stupid for wanting to leave. Why would you leave this brand you've helped build it for 21 years? It's the more successful brand in the company. You know, why would you go to that other brand? And he convinced me for a brief moment that I was making the wrong decision. And I almost backtracked on that decision. And when I left the building and left both of them in the building and went home and I was driving home, I said, I just need to leave and think about this. I ended up making the bold decision not to stay in my comfort zone, not to stay on the brand I knew so well, and that I could incrementally help. I decided to take the job and go with the person who needed my help more and where I could make a bigger impact. And so I made the decision, the bold decision to do that. It worked out pretty well for me, but I didn't know that at the time. And I think every time you make a bold decision, you have to do it knowing that there's a risk and being willing to accept that, and then working really, really hard to make sure that whatever you thought the risk might be never happens. So then, this sponsor and advocate who brought me to Celebrity in this vice president role, and then I got promoted to senior vice president, he decided he was going to leave and go run a hair company. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? And so when he left, he recommended me for his job to our chairman. So I went to our chairman and said, yep, I want this job, I'm ready. He says, what would you do? Write something up, what would you do if you got this job? And I was like, okay, I did, 5 or 6 page beautiful document I sent to him and said, these are all the things I would leave the same, these are all the things I would change, blah, 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 blah. Well, he decided I wasn't ready. And at the end of the day, that was his decision to make, even though I really wasn't very happy about it. And so then I had to make another bold decision and accept gracefully this bigger job that wasn't the job I wanted, but it was quite a big job with a tremendous amount of responsibility. And so I made the bold decision to be a really good sport about it and take that job and once again do a great job and convince him he was wrong. And so I did that. I did that for 2 years, and while I was doing that, that president of that brand left. And he said, you really need to give Lisa this job. She's ready. And so I said, I'm ready. How about now? So anyway, that last slide, this one, was because I then went back from Celebrity back to Royal Caribbean. I'm like a schizophrenic. I'm back and forth between the two brands a lot. So because he decided I wasn't ready, I switched brands again. I became the EVP of operations, so that was the first time. My Celebrity job, first time a woman ever had that. This job, first time a woman ever had that. I also was in charge of Marine. My boss leaves 18 months later, and Richard, I say, okay, a second president left within 18 months and recommended me for the job. How about now? And so, as he's interviewed now, he talks about how gracious I was during the whole thing. Even though he knew I wasn't happy, I handled it with grace. And so I read that comment. He never said that to me, but I read that he said that in an interview. And what I would say is, as you experience disappointment in your career, handle it with integrity and grace. Because just because it's no now, it doesn't mean it's always going to be no. And don't give up. Keep asking. Because I kept asking. And he finally said yes. And then I got that dream job that I told you about at the very beginning. I was appointed president and CEO of Celebrity Cruises. That was after a 30-year career, pretty much learning the company from top to bottom, inside out, and getting stellar results in everything that I did. And that's another thing that I will say. Nobody is going to give you anything. You have to earn it. And you have to be better than everybody else. And you have to ask for what you want. Now, I will say this as a woman because we don't do that as often as we should. And so as a woman, for me to ask so many times, it was uncomfortable. Because I asked 3 or 4 times, it got a little more comfortable the longer I had to do that. The first time was really hard. And I forced myself to do it. And that was a bold decision for me because I fight for a lot of things, but usually it's for other people. And so to fight for yourself is really important. And so I did. And then, if I thought the decisions I had to make needed to be bold to get here, they now need to be even bolder than that. And so I've had to make a lot of bold decisions since I came into this job. And you have to be comfortable doing that. You have to have the courage to do it, and you have to make decisions. And that's regardless of whatever level you're at. You've got to make a decision and move on. And my first decision when I came to the brand was to start over on our brand new cruise ship. They had been designing it for a year. It was all done and ready to go. The plans were ready to go to the yard. And I said, we need to start over. That's not the ship that's going to take celebrity into the future. So that's the first decision I made. Bold decisions to bring in world-class designers was the next decision I made for that ship. And this is the outcome of it. This is our new Celebrity Edge. 61 days from delivery. These are the rooms. This is what it looks like. It's had 2 billion impressions. We raise prices every single day because the market has responded so wonderfully to it. These are all of the beautiful features, our rooftop garden, our magic carpet, our resort deck. And this has been the reaction. And when the press, who's very jaded about our industry, because innovation is at the core of what our company does and what a lot of cruise ships do, when you can get people to say that this is the world's coolest cruise ship, when you can get people to say you have not only transformed your brand, but you have transformed the industry, that's a big deal. And you have to take risks and be bold if you want that outcome, that to be the outcome. You never know what's going to be the outcome, but you have to be smart enough, you have to be experienced enough, and you have to have good instincts. And what you are then able to get as a return is really important. The other thing that was a bold decision for mine to ask for something is our marine organization was consolidated a few years ago. And we have one global marine organization that manages the technical, safety, and environmental part of 51 of our ships that go to over 540 destinations made up of all these brands. And when we decided to consolidate it, my colleague at the other cruise line, the bigger cruise line, said he would run it. He felt like he should run it because he has the largest brand. So I wasn't happy about that. I wanted to run it. And so I had to think about how I was going to do that. And I had to make the bold decision to pick up the phone and call him. And I had to say, listen, I want it. And he was a little reluctant at first, but I've known him for 30 years. And I told him all the reasons why I wanted it, and he trusted me. And so that's a point in this. It wasn't just like he was gracious and said, okay, fine, you can run it, I won't. But I told him the reasons why I wanted to run it. I knew him really well, and he trusted me. So what I would say to all of you as you think about your careers, build trust. Because if you have trust, then you're going to be able to accomplish a lot more than you otherwise would have if people know that your motives are pure. And then I made another bold decision as the CEO of Celebrity, and that was that I was working in a very cluttered industry. I was working in an industry where if you look at an ad, you see white ships. It's hard to tell all the brands apart. If one does one thing, it's an industry that copies each other, which is very frustrating and disappointing for me. So I had to think about how I could make Celebrity stand out in a different way. And so I made the bold decision to follow the trend that's happening in the world, because not only is it the right thing to do, people care about it more and more. Consumers care about brands and what they stand for and if they're like-minded. And all of the research is showing that it's going more and more that way, and consumers are more willing to take out their credit card or their checkbook and engage with brands who stand for the same things that they do. So I figured that was Celebrity's opportunity. As a woman, I'm probably more in tune to it because of the fact that I'm a diverse candidate, and so I thought that it would be authentic, and because I really do have a passion for all of these things. So the first thing we decided to do is talk about cruising in a way that opens up the world versus closes the world down or shuts the world down, because there's a lot of that rhetoric going on right now. It's dangerous for our humanity, but it's also dangerous for my business. When people don't want to experience other people or cultures, that's dangerous for my business. And so we took a counter position that you really have to be open to other people in other parts of the world and go and visit them and make yourselves richer. I also took a position on diversity and inclusion because, and it isn't just women, it's diversity and inclusion, which makes up a lot of different groups, because women are so 95% of the people in our marine organization and even our hotel operation leadership roles are men. It's just the way it is. But there are women out there, and we have to make a deliberate effort to go find them. So yes, I hired Kate. This was actually the first thing I did right after start that cruise ship over again. I hired Kate as the first American woman ever to captain a cruise ship and the first woman ever for celebrity. Nathalie is the first Ecuadorian woman captain ever in the world and in the Galapagos. Almost 30% of our bridge personnel are now women, up from 5% about 2 years ago. And Captain Kate is a rock star, and she's where it all started. Talking about diversity further, I want to talk to you about Nicolene. I met Nicolene when I did a talk for the Nelson Mandela Fellows. Every year they come to FIU, and I have been invited 3 years in a row. This was 2016. I met Nicolene. She stood up and told me her story. She tried to work on the bridge of a cruise ship her entire career. She graduated from the Ghana Maritime Academy. She had her master's degree, and she worked on some boats. I won't call them ships. They certainly weren't cruise ships over in that part of the world. And the men told her to go home, get married, give up your dream, and oh, by the way, women on cruise ships are bad luck. And so she wouldn't give up. So there I am, standing in the front of the room, and she decided she was going to give it a shot. So me, I was tearing up. All of the other fellows gave her a standing ovation for telling her story. I said, let me see if I can help you. And that was a bold decision, especially for Patrick, who then had to make it happen. And it took him a year to get the Ghana Maritime Academy approved by the International Maritime Organization, because unless your academy is approved, we couldn't hire you. And the day I saw the celebrity flag flying in front of that school was a really proud day. And the day I welcomed Nicolene on the bridge of Celebrity Equinox was even a prouder day. And that was an opportunity that I had because I made a bold decision to stand up for something, and I got a chance to meet Nicolene. And then I want to tell you the story about Yulia. Yulia, please stand up. So when I was awarded this Hall of Fame, we had a lovely reception, and I met Yulia. And I met her with other students, and she was telling me that she was looking for a job, and I gave her my card, and I said, when you're ready, please send me a note. And the next thing I know, I get an email. This email, thank you for giving us permission. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she sent me a note and a picture of her employee ID, because when she reached out to me after that Hall of Fame night and asked me if I could help her, I did. And Yulia now has a job in our company. And one of my other goals, and she's going to do absolutely wonderful. My problem is she doesn't work for Celebrity, she works for Royal Caribbean. So I don't know how that happened, but we're going to have to talk about that. But I'll give you time to get all trained and acclimated. And then Adora will coach her back over to Celebrity. But one of the things I also made the decision to do is pay it forward. And this isn't just for women, because I have a young man, Lorenzo, who came to see me one day. He's been with the company for I don't even know how long. He started at 18 as an assistant waiter on our ship. He's now the associate vice president of our customer service experience. He works in Miami. He's married to the most wonderful woman. And one day he came in and said, how can I ever thank you for making all my dreams come true? And I said, you don't need to thank me, Lorenzo, but here's what you need to promise me. You need to pay it forward. There are a lot of people working on ships. For a lot of people that are looking for something, and you've been very fortunate, and you're living your dream, help other people live their dream too. And so I won't belabor this, but we sponsor Gay Pride. I'm on the International Board of Best Buddies. This is Edric. We hired him in our company. I speak to girls in STEM so we can get more women involved, not only in STEM, but interested in the cruise industry, because one doesn't necessarily follow the other. And then as Jennifer said, the other thing that was really important to me to make a statement about celebrity and what we stand for was that the godmother of Celebrity Edge, this amazing, heroic, transformational ship, had the same type of godmother. And so when we were deciding who that godmother was going to be, there was a name that rose to the top of the list, and there was no second place person. And it was Malala Yousafzai, because she is trying to educate 130 million girls around the world who don't have access to a safe and secure education. And so we decided to partner with her fund and help her in her mission and her cause, with the hope that she would also honor us by being the godmother of Celebrity Edge. It's a really long story. I don't have time to tell you, otherwise I'd never be able to take any Q&A. But she agreed. And when people ask me, what is the proudest thing that has ever happened in your career? It has to be Celebrity Edge and all the things that come with it, including having an amazing young woman who was willing to give her life for an education that you're all getting. She was willing to make the supreme sacrifice, and she doesn't want other girls to have to live that way. So I can't wait to be standing on the stage of Celebrity Edge on December 4th with Malala. And Richard and I met her, and this is always my favorite quote. Richard is our chairman and CEO, the guy that told me no 4 times. That's him. And this is his quote about Malala. It's my favorite quote, because she is an honest-to-God hero. And then let me just end with this, because this is sort of the last slide. At the end of the day, I'm a president and CEO for a publicly traded cruise line. This is my job. This is what I have to make happen. I know what my job is every day when I wake up going into that office. It's not easy answering to Wall Street every quarter. It's not easy watching bookings every single day. It's not easy watching your revenue and your cost and your profitability and just having to do everything that you need to do to make sure that this is the type of performance you need to make, especially when you're Celebrity Cruises. That was always the stepchild of the company and never meeting the financial targets that we had set. And we are now blowing them away. On a relative basis, Celebrity is the best performing brand in our company. That takes the dedication of a lot of great people, and it takes bold decisions and being able to get up every day and stand up for the right thing and do the right thing and attract people to your brand. And I believe the combination of all those things is why Celebrity is so successful. And that's why I believe in making the bold decision to do the right thing will also be the right thing for your business. And to do those things, you gotta be fearless. And I'm more fearless on the outside than I am on the inside. You know, my husband tells me of the two of us, I'm the risk taker, and he is so not the risk taker, and that is true. But if people think that the things I do I don't have a little bit of fear inside me every single day that they're going to work, you are totally wrong. But I will never show that, because I truly do believe that whatever risk that I'm taking, I believe it's going to pay off, and then we do everything that we can to make it pay off. But I will tell you that doing a lot of these things does require you to be fearless. And when I started this whole conversation with all of you, my favorite things about students is that you are fearless. When you get to my age, or maybe a little bit younger than me, fear starts setting in, and you're afraid to do certain things and take risks. Don't be. Because you know what? Nothing worth great will happen. I think my battery died, unless you're willing to take risks. But I think you can all hear me. And then with that, I'll open it up for questions. And I'll say thank you for showing up tonight and your wonderful attention.
Does anybody have any questions? If you guys have any questions, please come to the podium.
Oh, thank you. Did I do something wrong? Or no, you gave me a new one. Well, thank you, because I was like going to be embarrassed there. Hi.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm a freshman in Oak Southeastern and part of Shark Cage. And so one of my questions is, I'm a very strong believer into contributing what your successes are towards your community.
Mhm.
And so you mentioned you left your community, where everybody didn't even go past the bridge. How did that implement to where you are today, and how have you brought back to your community?
So I have a new community now, and I've been in this community since 1989. And I go back to my community. Actually, my husband and I bought a house in my community because it really is lovely to go back. And even though my immediate family is here, my whole extended family is still there, and it's always so wonderful to be there and see them all. So for me, giving back to the community is more about the community I live in now than the community I came from. And that's why I'm so involved with the United Way. That's why I come to Nova to speak. That's why I talk to girls in STEM. That's why I'm on the International Board of Best Buddies and actually hire buddies so that we can make the community a better place. That's why I offer our ships to the Red Hat ladies so that they can come and raise money for cancer research, or donate one of our ships for the Magnolia and Women United Luncheon, and sponsor all of these events so that we as a brand and myself as a person, I personally give and our company gives. Our company gives to the environment. We're partners with WWF. We want to sustain the ocean, and we want to keep the world as pristine as we can for future generations. So those are, while it might not still be Gloucester, Massachusetts, we're giving a lot back to the communities, not only in which we serve, but also down here in South Florida.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Hi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Edwina Ward, and I first want to say how inspired I am by just being in your presence and to hearing your story. I'm a graduate student in the doctoral program in the College of Arts and Education Social Sciences. Thank you. And my program studies is conflict resolution and analysis.
Okay.
So the question that I have for you is, how do you handle the conflict, that interpersonal conflict that exists when you're trying to make decisions on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it really is an art. And I don't know how much science there is, but I do know that there is a lot of conflict. Usually because you have things that you have to get done, and your priorities are not always other people's priorities. The great thing about the team that I work with every day that works with me at Celebrity is our priorities are very much aligned. The things we care about are aligned, our targets are aligned, our guest experience and how we feel about that is really aligned. More of the conflict comes from some of the shared services groups that have to support us as well as supporting everybody else. So I have to handle that in two ways. One is I'm pretty forceful in making sure that we get what we need to get our jobs done, because our brands fuel our company. So you really have to make sure that people are supporting the brands in a powerful way, because our guests are what keep us all going. And then the other is that I try to get discretionary effort. And one of the things I wasn't able to talk about in the context of what I presented tonight is, I believe if people know you care about them, genuinely care about them, you will get discretionary effort. So most of the time, I'm not really forcing my will. I am more getting people to want to support our brand because we're easier people to work with, we're collaborative, we're responsive, and they know I appreciate every single thing that they do, and so for that, I will usually get discretionary effort. And I think as a leader, or anybody studying that, I would love to see someone do a case study on discretionary effort, because I also believe that those numbers I showed in the end is because I try to lead through with as much of my heart as I lead with my head. And I believe that people work harder for me. I believe they care about me, not just their job, but me, because they know I also really care about them. And our crew, that beautiful, amazing crew of people who leave their homes for 4, 6, and 8 months at a time, need to know I care about them, because the things that they're doing on board are just extraordinary.
Thank you.
Nice.
So, hi, my name is Adrian. I'm from Puerto Rico. I worked all my life in hospitality industry, so I know how the effects that the cruise industry has on those Caribbeaners.
Yep.
Last year was a difficult year for us, as we have 2 hurricanes that really Puerto Rico, San Martin, San Thomas, those cruise destinations.
Yep.
I would like to know how the company is doing to help those places recover.
So I don't know if you, how long have you been here from Puerto Rico?
After the hurricane.
After the hurricane. So I have to say that, You know, I'm very proud to work for our company because we do so many wonderful things, including the charitable contributions we make. But the hurricanes was a wonderful example of how our company really stepped in and helped. My counterpart, I don't really have ships in the Caribbean during the entire year. The celebrity ships are always somewhere else, but Royal Caribbean has a huge presence in the Caribbean year-round. And as a company and them as a brand, they sent ships to Puerto Rico, they brought people back from Puerto Rico, they brought people's pets back from Puerto Rico. We have contributed to rebuilding the terminal. We have given loans. I remember getting a photo or a video from Celebrity Equinox, our only ship in the Caribbean, that was visiting Antigua. And they were one of the few ships visiting, we were one of the few ships visiting Antigua. And what happened was the Barbadians had to leave their island because it was completely destroyed and they were taken to Antigua. And there was so much attention for St. Thomas and St. Martin in Puerto Rico that they were forgotten. And I remember seeing my team on the Equinox, they decided that they were going to help the Barbadians because they were getting no help at all. And the entire crew was unloading water. They asked for donations from our guests. They took clothes, they took water, they took food, and they partnered with the Red Cross in Antigua and brought it to the shelters that all of these folks were at. So we made a huge impact. I remember getting a call from the president and CEO of United Way, and we coordinated that effort here in Port Everglades when one of the Royal Caribbean ships, it was a huge ship too, it was probably 3,000 or 4,000 people, their families and even their pets were on that ship and came back. And we've also contributed a lot to the rebuilding of what's going on in the islands. And listen, there are everybody in those islands, there are friends. We have been calling there for many, many years. Their economy depends on us. We depend on them. And we wanted to get back there as fast as we could to help them rebuild. And so we did everything that we could to make that happen. We actually got a wonderful award. Royal Caribbean got a wonderful award. It was from the American Jewish Federation in Broward County for their humanitarian efforts for the hurricane.
Any other questions?
So I met a lot of people earlier who are in artificial intelligence and business intelligence, and I will just say that that's a huge focus of our company. We know that it's really hard to find great people in that area, and we have also been talking to NSU about partnering and doing different things together, especially since we do a lot with the oceans, and there's this beautiful oceanography facility at Port Everglades. We are actually hosting a party for our new ship that's coming in at that facility in November, and we're going to do a lot more. So I'm looking forward to a long and wonderful relationship with NSU, and I really want to thank all of the faculty for inviting me, all of the what is it that you are ambassadors for NSU for being here, and Lisa, always for everything that you do. But it's really just such an honor to be here and spend time with all of you. And Dean, good luck. Welcome to South Florida, and good luck. And Yulia, you'll be with Celebrity sooner. You know, after a year, I can give you a call and ask you if you want to switch brands. And thank you all very much. Oh, you don't want to be in the middle of the two women?
I know, that's what I thought.
But for the Distinguished Lecture Series Award, we really appreciate this. It was a wonderful presentation, and you can tell how excited and motivated the students were with the presentation. Thank you so much.